New Mexico. The first thing I noticed was her eyes. It was Friday night, October 1968, early in my sophomore year of college. My housemate Bryce and I were at an underage dance club. The band was a local knockoff of Big Brother and the Holding Company, but without Janice. A light show flooded the walls and ceiling with fluid, amoebic shapes. For some strange reason, Bryce and I hadn't smoked any dope beforehand, and there wasn't any alcohol available, so we were sipping root beers, checking out the girls. One in particular caught my eye as she swirled around the dance floor. She appeared to be Hispanic, had copper skin and blue-black hair, wore a peasant blouse and floor-length Indian skirt. She was barefoot, moved like the light show, organically, effortlessly, as a leaf in the wind. I finally got up the nerve to ask her to dance, and she accepted. Her name was Conchita, she said. She had just moved to Bellingham from Pueblo, Colorado, led here by Spirit. I was immediately captured by her eyes, intensely dark, open and smiling, searching deep inside me. We danced together till the place closed at 2, then she asked if she could get a ride home. We dropped her off in front of an apartment building, and instead of trying to kiss her or wrangle an invitation inside, as per usual in that free love era, we left her there and drove back to our house. Again, we didn't smoke or drink anything. I told Bryce I couldn't get over Conchita, felt like I had seen her before, or perhaps knew her from somewhere in my past, maybe even from a past life. This got us going on a discussion about reincarnation, then the origins of life on Earth, then the possibility of life on other planets. Eventually, our what-ifs led us to parallel universes. What if there's another universe just like this one somewhere? Bryce asked. What if there's another planet somewhere in that universe just like this one somewhere? I replied. Then we really got on a roll. What if there are 2 people on that planet just like you and me? What if those 2 people are having the exact same conversation we're having right now? What if everything there is exactly the same as it is here, happening at exactly the same time? What if there's an infinite number of other planets where everything is happening the same as here? What if there are an infinite number of souls exactly the same as ours? If that's true, then we're infinite and omnipresent. Does that make us God? Does that make everyone God? Does that mean there is no God? My heart was throbbing, my skin tingling, my brain strained by the exertion, trying to imagine the mind-boggling infinite number of possibilities. Then, suddenly, I felt something snap inside me. "What's the matter?" Bryce asked. "You look weird." "I feel weird. It feels like something just broke in my brain, almost like my mainspring snapped or something." Bryce tried to pull me out of it by putting on Led Zeppelin's first album. Not only was I not interested in it, I didn't even tap my foot, something I've always done involuntarily to music. I told him to take it off. So he put on another favorite, Judy Collins' Wildflowers. Again, I told him to shut it off. It's weird, Bryce. Music just feels completely foreign to me, like it's nothing. In fact, everything feels foreign. This couch, I don't want to sit on it because it feels unnatural. This room, this house, you, everything just feels so like I'm not part of it at all. I sat on the floor, but didn't feel comfortable there either. By now, Bryce was a little freaked out. "What do you think it could be?" "I don't know, but I know what it's not. It's not an acid flashback. It's not a dream. It's much more real than that. I just feel like a completely different person, not like myself at all. I feel so neutral, like I'm between death and birth or something. Not even of this world. I don't feel nice or friendly or like myself at all. Almost kind of violent. No, not really violent, just capable of violence, like an animal or a caveman or something." "You want to throw some darts?" I stared at Bryce, saw fear in his eyes. "I better not. I might throw them at you. I feel like I could kill you right now and not think twice about it." "Why don't you sit down, Wayne? I'll make you some tea." "I don't want to sit down. I need to move. I'm going to take a walk. If I step in front of a car or get killed or kill someone else, don't worry about it. It's just what has to happen." "Wayne?" But I was out the front door and gone into the night. I started walking, kind of slumping and huffing like a beast. My cheeks hung limply, and I felt like I had almost a scowl on my face. I had no idea where I was going. Then I looked up and saw the apartment building where I'd dropped Conchita off. It was now 3 o'clock, but time didn't matter to me. I walked in the front door, up the stairs, and down the hall. When I came to room 3, I stopped, turned the doorknob, and walked in. She hadn't told me her apartment number, but somehow I knew that was it. There, sitting cross-legged on the floor in the middle of the living room, surrounded by candles, was Conchita. "I've been waiting for you," she said calmly. I sat opposite her and told her all that had happened over the past hour. She didn't look surprised, didn't interrupt, just listened. "Wow, I didn't know that happened to anyone else," she said, her eyes lighting up. "That's happened to me a whole bunch of times." I told her I needed to keep moving, and she said she'd come with me. So we went walking with no destination in mind. I found a 3-foot piece of scrap iron and picked it up, banged it against street signs and telephone poles as we passed them. "If anyone tries to hurt you, I'll kill them," I said, deadly serious. We walked for about an hour through the abandoned downtown streets. Conchita told me she was a witch, a good witch, that she had powers. "I made you come to me," she said, taking my hand. When we got back to her place, she asked me if I wanted to come up. Normally, I would not have refused such an offer, but I told her I had to keep walking. I took off again, not having any idea where I was going, not caring. Carrying my iron club, on the lookout for enemies, for danger. Then I stopped and looked up and realized I was in front of the house where 3 girls I knew lived. They were not close friends, but for some reason, I knew I needed to talk to them. It was now 4 o'clock, but their lights were on. Without knocking, I walked in the front door. They were sitting at the dining room table, throwing yarrow stalks, consulting the I Ching. I sat at the table and told them what had happened that night. "Let's see what the oracle says," Conchita said. So I went through the half-hour ritual of throwing the stalks. When we found my hexagram, she read the text, the description, judgment, image, explanation of the placement of all 6 lines. When she finished, we all discussed the meaning, and they all agreed on an interpretation of the reading that was almost word for word what I had told Bryce and Conchita earlier that night, that I was between death and birth. They were concerned about me and asked if I wanted to crash on their couch. I didn't even bother to thank them for the offer, or the reading, or the tea. Politeness was not part of my emotional makeup just then, but said I had to keep walking. I got home at about 6, just as the sun was starting to rise. I still felt like a caveman, physical, almost brutal, definitely not myself. But I lay down on my mattress on the floor, still fully dressed, still holding my weapon, and managed to get some sleep. When I awoke a few hours later, having overslept my 9 o'clock English Lit class, I was once again myself. But the night's bizarre happenings were still vivid in my mind, and remain so to this day. Whatever the explanation of the event is, whether I was possessed, had a psychotic break, some kind of spiritual rebirth, or whatever, doesn't really matter. What did, and still does matter, is that it opened my mind and heart to an infinite realm of possibilities. If this could happen to me, I reasoned, then who am I to deny the truth of any kind of spiritual experience that happens to anyone else? How can I claim to know what is real when there are other kinds of reality out there that are beyond my own limited experience, understanding, and even imagination? There's more to life than just what we can see, hear, feel, I thought. There is absolutely some kind of spirit world out there, and I want to find out more. Oh, by the way, Conchita moved in with me the next week. We lived together for 6 months until Spirit moved her and her backpack to the nearest I-5 on-ramp, where she stuck out her thumb and disappeared from my life.